What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Lucky 7 soundtrack. And we're going to listen to one of a handful of related tracks on the soundtrack that all have an emotional quality, some a bit more warm and happy sounding, one or two a bit more melancholic or at least emotionally mixed, but they all share some motifs in common. They all feature string and, I think, in most of them, piano, which is to say, the soundtrack overall, again, it's got some energetic tunes, it's got some fun and funky tunes, because the show has a lot of comedy and a lot of silly inter-character hijinks, but the show also has a lot of action, as I think well represented in the Tune Showdown that I reacted to, and it also has a lot of warm human and moral moments, and tunes in this subset of tracks on the soundtrack are often heard during those scenes, whether about the case in particular or about the team, the investigative team that comprises the undercover detective agency Lucky 7. And I would say this is the most, what's the right word? It's maybe the most happy of these selected tunes. And again, I just got this soundtrack, so I sort of scanned through it and I was able to quickly identify about 4 or 5 tracks, which when I watched the show the first time, and maybe even the second and third time in the following years, I thought it was maybe all the same track, just different parts of it. But it turns out there's like 4 tunes in this soundtrack that are all in this general area, being very emotional and having a like chamber music type of composition. So once again, let's listen to the Lucky 7 soundtrack. This time the tune is called Shine, and the entire score is composed by Tim Wynn. Lovely. Again, there are other tracks on this soundtrack which have a similar feel, though this one is perhaps the warmest and the most calm and feeling emotionally resolved, which is to say, I think this often plays, again, in relation to cases or the team when some conflict, when some danger, when some mystery has been overcome and there's some degree of satisfaction and conclusion, whether again for the clients or for the detectives themselves. And yes, as I've talked about in watch alongs going back a while, but also more recently, my plan is to finish going through Hananoche Hari, which admittedly I just started going through, but unlike the predecessor show, Hanayori Dango, there's only one season and there's not a film that follows it. So my plan is to get through Hananoche Hari relatively quickly. Then I'll be on to Ouroboros, which I'm very much looking forward to, and then after that, I think we're going to go through Lucky Seven. So it's in the not too distant future. It's visible out there on the horizon, and once we begin going through it, we'll not only continue to go through the soundtrack, but you'll start to get a sense for in what types of scenes the different tunes are used, and of course we'll get to see Matsumoto Jun and Eita and all the others interact in hilarious but also very emotional ways. So very much looking forward to it. Let me know what you think of this piece. I will see you next time. Peace.